Are you tired of wasting time on entertainment that doesn't bring you a sense of community? Do you feel like people are trying to force you to take a side in this silly culture war? Does your media have you feeling too conservative, too woke, too religious, too heathenous, not enough whatever, like a freak? That's because you're not a caricature. You're a real person. You're messy, and you don't fit into a box. Good news, we're freaks too.
Would you like to melt your stress away? Get connected to a community of other misfits? Maybe listen to the misfits? Stop feeling like a lonely outsider surrounded by people trying to enlist you in a war you want no part of. Become a contented member of a community that requires only that you live your best life and leave others to live theirs.
Feel a sense of belonging while opting out of the culture war. This is Peace Freqs. All right, welcome one and all to episode number 105 of Peace Freqs. I am Nikki P here as always with my lovely wife and co-host Lizzie.
Hello.
How are you doing today, babe?
I'm doing well.
How well are you doing?
Honestly, pretty good. I don't know why, but the kid was just asking me why I was so perky. I mean, it might have been because I was telling her she needed to go clean her room at the time, which made my happiness seem that much more insulting, but
Okay, wasn't like a late morning delight or anything that did that to you?
well, I mean, it wouldn't have hurt.
Wouldn't have hurt as if it didn't happen.
Well, couldn't have hurt, I guess is what I meant to say.
I'm glad that sex with me is so fucking
No, I wasn't.
unremarkable that you completely forget when it happens, Liz. Thank you so much.
No, I was saying it probably didn't hurt, and I just chose the wrong word.
Yeah. Except for you didn't say it probably didn't hurt. You got your tenses all mixed up. And you're someone who's very intentional about your tenses. So
No, I'm
I can
not.
clearly...
I'm not at all.
Whatever.
Don't go feeling some sort of way. We've got a podcast to talk about.
Oh, we do. But I'm feeling some sort of way about a lot of things right now. Let's start with, why do you not like reggae?
Why do I not like reggae? Honestly,
I was just chilling with some UB40 before this, and I'm just thinking, man, I wish I could just go hang out at reggae festivals all fucking summer long and just like jam out to the beats.
probably just from the 7 years that I had dreadlocks and everybody assumed I liked reggae and smoked a lot of weed, and it was annoying to me.
So you dislike reggae because you refused to enjoy the things that went along with your hairstyle.
No, they don't go along with a hairstyle.
Bullshit, they
Hairstyle's a
don't.
hairstyle.
I'm sorry,
That's ridiculous.
but smoking weed and reggae music goes good with anything, but it goes even better with dreadlocks.
I mean, that's fine and all, but I don't know. It's just it was a weird thing, and I'm not even gonna pretend like it was logical. It was.
Well, what I'm gonna not pretend is that, God, I love reggae.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I'm just like, a reggae beat comes on and I'm all just like moving my shoulders, can't help it, just feeling the vibe.
I enjoy it, and then like it makes me.
She's lying, folks. She tells me all the time how much she hates reggae.
No, I enjoy it like in small doses, and then like I listen to it long enough, and I don't know. I get out of the mode, and then I'm just thinking of Ross Trent, and I feel ridiculous.
That's the point. You should feel ridiculous because you're what you're telling me is that, like, oh, I enjoy the music, but then I never reach the place. You never go to the place that it's supposed to take you. You're
Right,
like, okay,
right.
as opposed to like falling into it, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be academic and run away from this because
Yeah. So maybe it's like the opposite of the trust fall. I'm not doing the trust fall.
yeah, you refuse to trust the music.
I am standing. I am not falling.
Like, how you don't just hang out in our garden all fucking day and just dance to the reggae music is beyond me.
Hey, it could still happen.
I could only hope. You're not wearing the scarf.
I'm not wearing my Badu scarf today. I was for a minute. I might start again, honestly. It just got too hot.
It has been real hot, even up here in Ohio.
But I am doing the protective style thing again, so I might go that next step and throw the scarf on top of it, because I am starting to get some growth with my hair after shaving it, but it's a process.
It is a process. I think Irma doesn't realize how long Daddy's hair is.
Yeah.
So I asked her to comb it for me yesterday, and I think she gave up very, very quickly.
Yeah, well, no, see, that's what happens when it just starts getting long. She's all, "Oh, it's so pretty, I want to comb it," because that's what happened before when you grew your hair out. And then once it gets to the point where it's actual work, then that's when Mom takes over.
Anyways, so Welcome to episode number 105 of Peace Freaks yet again. I'm sorry, we had to get that out. I just, as we were setting up to do this today, I'm like listening to some UB40, and I'm just getting upset that Liz doesn't like this shit.
Yeah, that's fair.
In particular, it was we listened to The Way You Do the Thing You Do.
Which is a great song. I like that song, but probably more because it's a cover.
They did a lot of really good covers.
They did, actually. Yeah, that was kind of their thing for a minute.
So, what do we got coming up today?
Today, we have an actual voluntary vixen on the show. I'm so excited.
And for those who don't know, I've been chasing the voluntary vixens for about a year and a half now.
He has been. He's been making it really awkward, actually.
That's what I'm good at. I'm good at making shit awkward. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, so we have Jessie Vixie on, and she's just really cool. I was super stoked to get to talk to her because she's, a lady and a voluntarist and a mom and, all of those things. In fact, as it turns out, we have even more in common than just that. So
what's really funny is that, hey, we're changing the format of the show again, so deal with it.
We're not changing the name of the show again. We're over that.
No, we're not changing the name. Yeah, I'm tired of changing names, but I'm not really changing the format even. we're going to run down this whole midlife crisis thing, and then I'm going to find other people having their own midlife crises of sorts.
Well, it kind of comes back to like the being a parent thing and being able to talk about being parents and things that make your life work, because it's a big hunkin' part of your life.
Well, and I feel like there's just shit that we have to kind of contend with that. Not to say other people can't extrapolate and understand, but it takes less effort for a parent to understand another parent and kind of some of the situations that you're going to come across. I want to spend more time talking to people about homeschooling, since that's going to be on our big part of our forefront moving forward. And
for sure.
And I want to talk to people that are dealing with the economics of the real world and children, and kind of trying to set up things best for Irma and whatnot. So I'm excited to have a bunch of conversations. We're just trying to figure out how to be the best family we can and all this weirdness.
Yeah, there you go.
And I still want to be a freaky and weird.
Well, because that's just who you are, and you shouldn't have to lose who you are to be a good parent. There should be a way to do both. So yeah, if you do have any ideas, along those lines, anything that you'd like to hear, any directions, we'd love to hear them. You can contact us on the socials and thepeacefreaks.com. And
I mean, we're still going to be the same old G's, but
yeah,
talking about stuff.
Yeah. So
I mean, really not all that different at all, but
no.
But just different.
Yeah.
It's different in my head, even if not different on the paper,
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's get into this interview here with Jessie Vixie of the Voluntary Vixens. The apples and oranges are rotten and they're rotten fruit. Truly, I say to you, you will know a tree by its fruit. On the left, and many will say, Lord, Lord, don't you know me? I've kept all your commands from my youth. I'm holy as you are holy. He will reply, I can't place the face, but I know your deeds. Every mommy, every father, the devil, he's been busy planting weeds. Anyways, welcome to the Peace Freaks podcast. How are we doing there, Jessie Vixie?
We are doing great. A little bit low on sleep, but we're good.
Well, at least I'm not alone.
Yeah, that's what you get when you have two kids, and one of them is not a good sleeper.
Yeah, I have one, but she hates sleep.
Yeah.
Despises it.
She thinks she's missing out on life.
Yes, all of that.
She is missing out on life.
Yeah.
That's what mine is. 3:00 in the morning, and he's ready to get started.
Clearly there's a party somewhere, and I should be part of it.
Well, that's the... Yeah. Let's say that's the opposite. My
Exactly.
kid at 3:00 in the morning is still trying not to go to sleep, and I'm like... Now, granted, I'm not generally asleep by that point in time, too. I just wish she was.
Yes, I get that. I was up late last night watching Event Horizon for the 100
Oh, good
Nights of
gravy.
Horror or something like that is going on. And so as soon as I finish that, my son opens the door and he doesn't want to go to sleep. He wants to do something. I don't know what it is, but
Well, you are more than happy for the company after that, because that movie is fucked up.
well, yeah, this would be like probably the 6th time I've seen it though. So it's not,
Oh, okay.
It's a good movie.
it doesn't affect me quite the same. But yeah, it's pretty good considering when I was just starting to watch it last night. I realized like 1997, like we've made so many changes to the movies. Just the special effects that even in 1997, it's still, that looks so aged now that
That's the fire and stuff, and it was a little like, ugh, it's super cringy.
yeah, but I do like the story. And I think it was so funny that, like, what was it? One of the scientists was trying to gather data from what happened on that ship. And one of the things that she pulled out of there was a CD.
Hey, I still collect my CDs. I doubt many of them even work anymore, but I still have my CD collection.
Hmm.
Yeah. I doubt we're going to be using those in 2047, though.
Probably not.
I like the hard copies. But yeah, no, they're definitely not going to be using them for anything. I keep them more as a nostalgic element. I still have my music collection, nice case I made for the whole thing. There's a lot of them, thousands of them. So it was a good time for like CDs and Amazon. Like I used to buy used CDs on Amazon, like it was going out of style because you could find good CDs in like good condition for like pennies plus
Oh yeah.
the $3 shipping. So it's like, okay, I got a great new CD for $3, which means you can buy 10 new CDs for 30.
Right. Those little CD mailers Amazon used to have.
I know that, but back before I had a kid, I had disposable income.
Yeah, well, that's nostalgic too, I suppose.
And now I have a mission to get myself out of debt as quickly as possible.
Yeah, especially now with the economy so crazy.
And that's a lot of what this will probably be the first episode that I release where we're moving towards our new format, which is I want to talk to parents. I want to see how other people are kind of dealing with the nonsense of the world today, and because I know how we've been affected by kind of the upheaval and changes that we've gone through, but I'm curious how other people are weathering the storm, whether maybe we're just lunatics and other people are just like, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. It's just the same as it's always been, nothing's changed. You're fucking weird.
I feel like a lot of parents that I've talked to that homeschool, not much has changed and everything's pretty well, pretty fine for them.
Mm-hmm.
But then those that aren't homeschooling, like they have to work full time and things like that, it's a little bit sketchy because, like, at least in my county, we say we're going to start school in like 2 weeks, but they keep changing. Every county around us keeps changing what their format's going to be, so we don't know what school's going to be like for our kids.
I can't even imagine like that. Just not knowing what the hell you're sending the kid into, and it seems to be like that's the norm everywhere.
Exactly.
Like every time I run into normie parents, and I don't even bring up like my politics with it, but I suggest, have you guys, if you're gonna end up having the kids at home 3 days a week anyways, have you considered like just pulling them out, doing some homeschooling? Because I can tell you, it's not that hard. You can figure it out. Sure as hell is going to be a lot easier than dealing with the half in, half out thing.
Yeah, well, for me, I tried homeschooling my daughter for a little while, and that did not work. She and I are too similar, and so it's just, I don't know. I think it just depends on the parent and the child and their willingness. Like my daughter she's a lot more outgoing than I am, so she likes to be around other kids. So she actually likes that aspect of school. I don't know, like what we're gonna do if they decide to go virtual.
How old are your kids?
My daughter is 7 and my son is 4. I think for my son, he and I could probably homeschool, but my daughter, she's just like, you're not going to tell me what to do, which is exactly what I was like when I was a kid, which is why I'm an ANCAT probably. But I respect that in her. So I'm just like, all right, if you don't want to learn from me, then I'll try to find some way to get somebody around you that can teach you. So like all summer, I pretty much try to get her a tutor just to kind of make sure she didn't fall behind.
Interesting.
But with the tutors, like, your daughter's amazing. She's so sweet and kind and listens. And I'm like, I don't know which kid you're talking about. Yeah.
But no, I'm always the first person to say, like, I don't believe that homeschooling is for everyone. I believe that public schooling is probably not for everyone, and it shouldn't be mandatory. But the idea of everybody, signing up for the same thing is probably not exactly correct. And I going to be a lot more of what you're talking about there with the tutor, maybe just small classes with private tutors, stuff like that.
Look, this has been my thing, is that I do not understand why teachers even bother with the school system, like, at all. Like,
they make better money. In my county, they do.
No, they don't. If they were smart, they'd go find 5 students and for what they make teaching, you could go find 5 private students, make probably $20,000 a year off of each student. Now you're a 6-figure income as basically doing a 1-room schoolhouse model. By the way, $20,000 a year is slightly less than the average for what they pay for students in America for a year. So the idea, like the federal government paying for education, literally it's just paying a whole shit ton of bureaucrats and fucking over school teachers. This is what drives me nuts. Like, if they ever realize the power that they have and what they could do, just walk away, all of you. Just say, fuck this. We're not doing it anymore. Stop letting bureaucrats get paid for what you have a skill at. Go find the students. And can you imagine the difference in education moving from class sizes of 20, 30 kids down to 5?
Yeah.
I think that change is so scary for people, though, because especially for I hate to say it, but for most public school teachers, and I have a really good friend who actually teaches at a public school, and she's not exactly completely red-pilled, but she's getting there, and she's looking around and she's thinking, like, this is just a hellhole. And she's always talking about how she wants to leave, but what keeps her there is, she's in the process of separating from her husband, so she's the only person making money right now. So she is afraid to change careers, but she's like, if I didn't have to worry about any of that, I would be teaching at a private school or tutoring yesterday. So I think that's just the security of, that's what the teachers unions really do provide, is that false sense of security.
In your circles, known as a fan of Stapleton, but that's his point. If you work for somebody else, your job is not any more secure. It's still a job, and they can take it away at will. So, and it's a very important thing to remember, is that unless you're the one providing your own sales leads to bring in the fucking money, you can go at any point. They'll get rid of you. But yeah, I understand the fear, and I realize that unless you have some sort of entrepreneurial spirit that someone has cultivated in you, you're probably not seeing all the ways out of the situation that you're in. And that's, I think that's personally by design. The whole school system in general is designed to make you not see the ways out and just see, well, this is how you live your life, and this is the box that you go into. And the worst part of it is that box that our school system was designed to stuff people into doesn't exist anymore, because, we manufacture shit in other countries. So you're not going to be a factory worker after American school, most likely.
Yeah, and I think too, we're way behind. Our system is from the 1950s.
Oh no, our system's from the 1800s. They really haven't updated.
Well, I see. Yeah, because of the Yeah, but yeah, I think that one of the things that my friend is still concerned about, and I think a lot of public school teachers are still concerned about, is, what about the kids who come from abusive homes, or where they go to school to get meals, those kind of things. Like, how would we meet those people's needs if we didn't have public school? I say that's where, the community just comes together and makes it a priority. Like, if it bothers you, you need to sound the horn and communicate with your community, try to organize something for the people in your community. Churches, charities that are local. There's many ways to do it. It's just that a lot of times people don't know how to get started. Like you were saying, they don't have that entrepreneurial mindset where they don't know how to get something like that started. And the public school system seems to already kind of have a system in place.
Yeah. Oh, and we were listening to the Unloose the Goose podcast, and they were just talking about the fact that it's kind of awkward for people to come together and build a community unless they have something to build it around. And so that's why you have
Mhm.
churches that can do things like food banks and, schools can do school lunches. But I think it's harder for just like everyday Joe down the street to feel like he can go up to his neighbor and say, we should do this thing together, which is crap. We should have
Yeah.
communities that can do that, but it's where we are.
Especially now, I feel like our communities are so divided. Like, I just go on my local county, like, Facebook stuff, and everybody's bickering about Black Lives Matter and if schools should even reopen because everybody's gonna die from COVID, I'm sure of it, and just stupid things like that, and then I swear, I mean, it's just some of the things that people fight about, and they can't come together. It makes you worried that if we didn't have something, like, I mean, if I was a normie, I would be worried that we can't possibly get together on this, but Facebook is just a cesspool.
Oh, I took it off my phone.
Yeah.
I was tired of the arguing. I don't have the patience for it. I've got enough in my life to worry about that I don't need to be worrying about any of these people. Most of the people I talk to in Keybase.
Mhm.
I try and meet people in person that I can. There's not like there's many of us locally, but I've got Liz working on meeting local farmers and stuff like that and building relationships in case, food scarcity becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And we need to know where we're sourcing our stuff that's not a grocery store, shit like that.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, outside of just the kids and all that, has your perspective kind of shifted at all with everything we're going through? Are you guys kind of just hunker down the way you've always been and doubling down on it?
Well, my situation's kind of weird because my husband I'm a Christian and an ANCAP. My husband is an atheist and he's a
Wow.
liberal.
Well, I got half of that.
Right?
Yeah, we've had our share of arguments about certain things. Like, I've asked my husband if we could do like a co-op if everything shuts down, since I'd feel more comfortable doing like a co-op type
Mhm.
situation for homeschooling rather than just doing it by myself, just so I have a community to kind of share with and help me get through things.
Which, by the way, is the way you should be doing it anyways, like having some form of co-op in there.
Right.
Because, yeah, the kids, it's going to be much easier if you have other people to lean on in any situation like that.
Exactly. But we live in the South.
Oh, really?
My husband's from Pittsburgh.
We're at Pittsburgh. I was just there this weekend.
Well, see, he went to Baldwin High School, so where's that?
It's literally the neighborhood I was in. I literally drove past that school this weekend.
Okay. So, yeah, that's where he's from. He's from that area. And I think his mom, she recently passed away, but she had a house in Mount Pleasant and his brothers moved in there. So
I know it well.
Yeah. So that's where he grew up. And that's mostly Catholic. And, where I'm from, everybody's like either Baptist or Presbyterian. Like, we're all kinds of different Protestants.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole different way of thinking about everything than Catholics.
Which kind of Baptists are there down there? Like the cool ones or like the ones like Liz?
The ones like Liz.
I was so disappointed when she told me she wasn't one of those like carrying on churches.
Carrying on Baptist, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's like I guess what I'm thinking of Baptist like Liz, like, but when I went to school down in Cleveland, Tennessee at Lee, and that is a Pentecostal school, and there's a lot of Pentecostal churches around there, and that I remember going to some of those churches and I felt like I was in a psych ward.
It can get a little intense.
So, yeah, I grew up Presbyterian, so we're a lot more like pragmatic and just like, we don't do anything in church. We just sing and then we sit down and listen to a sermon and like, we're listening to a lecture,
Presbyterian sounds pragmatic, just the word.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think when my husband thought, when I told him that I was a Christian and I was Protestant, I mean, he's thinking like that I'm like I'm one of those people that are running up and down the aisle screaming with my hair disheveled and things like that. But that's not what it is. And
just like I thought Liz was going to be, singing. There's going to be like a whole lot of praise the Lord in the house. And there wasn't any of that.
There actually is a church here in my town that's like that. And it's great because it's like you can be in church for like the whole day. Because they sing all day, they have intermittent lectures, and then it's like back to singing. It's all like a party.
And I come from Catholicism, so the idea of church all day is like
Right.
Sounds like a
Oh, wait,
nightmare.
I gotta sit here quietly and up, down, kneel, stand for more than 40 minutes. That we used to go to the Saturday night vigil just because it was gonna be shorter. Inevitably, they knew no one was going in at 5 o'clock on a Saturday and staying there all night.
Yeah.
It was over 28 minutes flat.
It's impressive.
Quickest you could do the whole thing.
That's actually kind of nice, actually.
If you wanted to have the full thing, you could go in on Sunday
Yeah.
mornings. Like I will tell you this much: the singing at those particular, because I don't even think they bring in the choir for that. So it's just the people mumbling in the audience, like. Yeah, it was a treat. I'll say that much.
My church is so funny because my mom and my dad go to the same church, and they think that the music is amazing, and it's all just like older people singing with like, oh, you know what I mean, like old white people singing.
Opera voices.
Is just
There's
it's like not it's just a little too much, and you're like, just sit down and calm down.
at least one lady thinks she's an ultra soprano, and you're like,
Yeah.
calm down.
Yes. We finally got this one girl who can sing, and she actually can sing really good. Like she could actually really sing good. She's young and just brings a lot to it.
She's the Lauryn Hill.
But they use her
yeah.
much. Yeah, they just use her too much sometimes. And so I think like sometimes I just wish we could just skip the whole music thing sometimes. But
Oh, it's terrible.
and then of course I'm so antisocial. I absolutely hate when they're like,
Right.
all right, now turn to your neighbor and shake their hand and tell them good morning. And I'm like, please, let's move
Great.
on.
This person probably put a mask on today. What am I doing in my life?
Oh gosh, and now that we have everything is different now. It's like now we have to.
Oh, I'm
That
sure.
part has gone away. Thank God. That's the pandemic has at least gotten rid of that thing. So now we just sit in our seats and we all are 6 feet apart and everything, which is a little weird. But it is what it is right now.
That's unfortunately what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just glad to have some normalcy come back. But
I honestly haven't been back. I think the church we were attending is still meeting in small groups in the parking lot. So, yeah.
oh really?
I was attending no church, so I have no way to vouch for this or not.
Well, yeah. Nick is the atheist. He's fortunately we're both ANCAPs, I guess, but he's the atheist and I'm the Christian. So it's an interesting dynamic.
So I guess what I was trying to say is that like the co-ops here in this town are all pretty much related, like kind of from a church usually, or from like a church group.
Oh, yeah.
So my husband is like, if it's church related, we're definitely not going to do it. I want to separate church and education from my kids right now.
Oh, you know what? I have a group I could plug you into because there's a secular eclectic homeschooling group or something that I'm a part of, and they have chapters all over. It just kind of depends on your city if there's people around you, but they do actually exist, secular homeschoolers. They're harder to find.
I know they do. It's just like where I live is so like there's a church on every corner, so it's just really hard.
Yeah, I grew up in the Bible Belt. I feel ya.
Yeah, and it's not like I hate that. It's just that when I'm trying to get my husband on board with things, it's really hard.
Yeah.
To me concern, repentance. You know we gotta hold on, repent, so we can make a fire. Repent, to burn down Babylon. Repent, praise to the Messiah. Repent, you know we gotta hold on. Repent, surrendering the river. Repent, a mission to Zion. Repent, Elijah will deliver. Repent, repent, repent. Gold and silver, dollars and cents, no temptation. Repent, repent. Americans, repent. We no pity. Jamaican, repent. No pity and no city. One government, theocracy. No witty, no watty. Swiss, no nitty, no gritty.
Hey everyone, Jake here, host of the Tasting Anarchy podcast. Join my co-host Mason and I each week as we explore the world of wine and alcohol through a Liberty lens. You can find us on all your major podcatchers, tastinganarchy.com, or Tasting Anarchy on Twitter. Tasting Anarchy, your wine and liberty podcast. Find out how much government is in your drink.
So, I mean, what kind of is his position on things? I mean, is he like full woke and like he's at least
No.
tolerable?
He's tolerable because he's not very political. So that is very good.
Okay.
And he's even admitted that he's not very political. I mean, he's told me that, like, I will admit when somebody tells me that they support Trump, I lose respect for them a little bit. And I was like, I kind of am with you on that too,
Right.
but just in a different way, probably. But I mean, he is very nostalgic about like America. So in his mind, because he was a child through most of these presidents, like Ronald Reagan and Clinton and Bush and even Obama, he looks at them as sort of like this is like an American history type thing. And so he has framed pictures of all of them in his office downstairs, because it's like it's not necessarily that he thinks their policies are great, because he admits he doesn't really know, but they're like these icons of like American history to him. So it's
Is he from here? Like it's a very
I don't know. I just want to vomit. But and he does. I've tried to tell him, like, we've talked a little bit, and I remember one time we kind of got into a heated debate, and he was like, "How can you not even like Obama?" And I was like, "I don't like Obama because he likes droning babies. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Have you heard of Pakistan? What he did in Pakistan?" And he's like, "No, never mind. Just don't tell me. I don't want to know." So,
And see, that's the frustrating part, is that like if you have to shield yourself from shit, like
Yeah.
it's pretty effed
yeah,
up.
okay. Just I think part of it too is, his dad came from China.
Okay.
He swam to Hong Kong when
Mhm.
communism was just destroying the country.
You say that as if it's a past tense.
True. But this is when it was like, I guess this was in this, I'm trying to remember how old his dad is. It had to be like in the 50s or 60s. So was that like, I can't remember what that was, but all I know is that he had a brother or something that was in Hong Kong and had gotten out before. And he was like, that's it. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to swim to Hong Kong. And from Hong Kong, he ended up making his way to America. So
You can't do that anymore either, by the way. It's frustrating.
I know. So I think that Phil has a lot of respect for his dad because of like what he sacrificed and what he's willing to do to come here. But his father is also very stoic and quiet. He doesn't like to talk about things that are uncomfortable at all, which is very Chinese, actually. He's had a lot of heart conditions, and he's on a lot of medications for it, and he just tells all of us it's just vitamins. I'm just taking vitamins, so it's one of those things where I think Phil kind of got that from his dad, because when anything gets uncomfortable or it's unpleasant to think about, he just doesn't think about it. He knows how to turn it off. And so that's how he feels about American history. It's like, I don't want to think about the bad stuff. I don't want to think about my Obama as being a drone bomber.
Let's try and pretend that you're just not jealous as fuck over that, and that you could unknow all the shit that you know.
Yeah.
And just go back to, it's that fucking line in The Matrix. I know this isn't steak.
Yeah.
But I wish I knew that it was steak. It's
yeah.
I don't know. I wish I could. I wish I had more of a concept of what it was like to be unaware. Liz, I think, was mostly unaware.
Yeah.
I was completely unaware. I was, as shocked as anybody when that happened. And then I just didn't care about politics for a long while because there was a war going on and war is shitty. So I didn't want to think about it.
See, I was older than you guys. Like when 9/11 happened, I think I was my senior in
Okay, so just a little bit out.
College, actually. So yeah, I was about to graduate. I was about to go to grad school. I was planning on moving to Chicago. I remember all that stuff. And I was thinking like, well, shit, I'm about to move to Chicago. I hope they don't try to come there to bomb the Sears Tower or something. I remember having those thoughts, and I remember I was going to get on a plane in a few weeks from, after that. So I remember thinking a lot about that stuff. But and so I feel like I was kind of like just shell shocked for the most part. And then when I started,
Most people were. I will be the first to admit I was the abnormal one thinking about
yeah,
global geopolitics at that time.
and I remember thinking that Bush was, I was like, Bush is handling this really well. Like I remember thinking that back then. Like this man, he's so calm and collected. He's really handling this
'Cause he
well.
started
And
it.
he knows exactly the right things to
Yeah.
do.
Apparently, probably if you start some shit, you probably do know how to fix it.
Yeah.
You knew what to anticipate.
Yeah, exactly. That I will admit, like because of that whole experience, like, when I started realizing what Bush really was, that was a hard pill to swallow for me because I remember thinking of him as a hero back then. But I will admit, like I've probably been an ANCAP all of my life. I just never realized it, But I never was a fan of war. But
Well, I certainly couldn't say I was an ANCAP my whole life. I'll say anarchist, but I definitely voted Green Party and was way down the Nader trail at one point. It was just mostly that he was the only one talking about anti-war shit, and that's always been a thing I cared about personally. So I'm curious, outside of the differences in dealing with the kids, because I think the kids are probably the most different thing if you're not a homeschooler. I know with us, honestly, very little has changed with work. Even like I still go to work every day, and honestly, working more than I was beforehand. Liz is, going to work every day and working more than she was. So
Yeah, which is interesting with the homeschooling thing because we'd been kind of doing, a little thing here and there since Irma was probably like 3 or whatever. And now we're trying to do like a bit more actual work and the schedule is a bit different. So
I'd be unschooling if it wasn't, if it was legal in our
Right.
state.
all the legal stuffs.
But I'm curious if you've had to like deal with anything as far as like you planning for scarcity or anything like that, or does your husband kind of put the kibosh on it, or is it something that you wouldn't even have considered anyways? Like with us, we've definitely started kind of
well,
buying extra meat when we're at the store, so you have some kind of stockpile of that, and we started a garden literally I think the day that they started shutting shit down. I'm like, all right, I don't know what you got to do. Take the scraps from the veggies at the grocery store that we buy and start planting what you can. We can grow onions that way, right? We can get onions.
well, my husband's actually good about that. Like he has a garden that he's trying to grow in the backyard. But I don't know how successful it is because rabbits keep getting in there. But we do. So he is good about that. And when we first started shutting things down, my husband would be going all over trying to get us stashed with everything. So he's pretty good about that. And as far as like, I always try to make sure that we have enough toilet paper, paper towels, whatever. I'm the one that's like making sure that we have clothes and
Yeah.
supplies for the kids, and then he makes sure that we have the food. And he's trying to start a garden, which is immediately successful. But as far as like meat goes, like I would be the one that has to make sure we have enough meat because my husband doesn't.
Oh,
He's
okay.
vegetarian too. The only meat I guess he's a pescatarian because he does eat fish and seafood.
Out of
But
curiosity, why? Ethical or just doesn't like it?
he says that it's ethical, but I think it's mostly when he first went to China, one of his professors, which he was one of his mentors, was a vegetarian. So he started eating like that, like his professor, because I guess his professor and him had talked about how to eat healthier and more consciously. But I honestly think that his professor was a vegetarian because in China,
Oh,
you
okay.
don't want to eat the meat there because you never know what you're going to get.
Really?
So
Like
I don't know. Yeah,
we can be eating cats and dogs?
I mean, come on. Yeah, and then there's like those wet markets there where you can just get whatever kind of meat. Like you get bat meat and monkey meat, and just why would you?
I don't know. I'm interested in trying it
I don't
just
know.
because it sounds taboo. Like I'll eat whatever if it grosses people out, I guess. Which I don't even like
Just leave it
meat
be.
in general. It makes it really funny. Like
Yeah.
if we can't grind this up until I can't tell that it was something, I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like I've limited myself to certain types of food, like certain types of meat. Like I don't eat pork anymore. and I pretty much just eat chicken or beef. And even then, I don't really require a lot of meat because I get most of my protein with eggs and, and maybe cheese every once in a while, but I'm not really a big, humongous, like, steak eater or anything like that. And I do eat some fish, but I'm not a huge fish person.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know what we would do if, like, everything shut down. I mean, we'd probably like, I was just thinking about this because me and Maddie were just talking to some, lady the other day, and she says that she raises rabbits on her property for meat. I'm like, I don't know if I could even do that. Like, I would just have a bunch of rabbits as pets, I guess, because I couldn't do that.
You'd get to that day and just be like, no, never mind.
Me and Liz have definitely talked about, like, raising meat animals.
Yeah.
I think we'd probably be more likely to raise animals for eggs.
Yeah.
We have a bunch. Obviously, I mean,
Yes.
in the circles I run, I have many friends that grow animals. I run deep in the homesteading community, so most of the people I know are growing stuff of some kind.
See, I think that's what I would have to do is just like let my friends who do the meat stuff. I don't want to slaughter animals or do any of that. So I'll just let somebody else do it, and I'll buy the meat from them after the fact.
Well, and that's kind of my place. I'm like, I kind of just want to ask one of my friends that does them. Like, I'll give you the money to, like, have a couple extra chickens and just give me the shit,
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I would do, though. I would just have chickens just for eggs because I couldn't think of killing them. And then, I mean, pigs, like, I watched a documentary about farms and it just made me sad. And then there was a horrible accident on our highway in our town. I guess there was a pig farm near us, and the pigs fell out of the truck on the highway. And so I saw, like, some things that you just don't ever want to see. And from that point on, I'm just like, I can't eat.
Oh, that's sad.
That's a bit sad.
I know.
Well, no, you're fine.
Yeah, sorry to bring you down.
I've kind of gotten really into the whole regenerative farming thing, and kind of seeing the way that stuff does. Like, it makes me more comfortable with eating meat if you're gonna eat meat, because like that animal had a really good life and they killed it very humanely, and
yes,
which
agree.
means it's more expensive, which means you're gonna eat less of it anyway. So
see, this is why I've been trying to get you voluntary vixens ladies to just jump ship off of Cam's network and come to the Liberty Hippie Network.
That's all him, by the way. That's ridiculous.
Look, we're the only hippie lefty-ish libertarian network out there.
I just figured we could have like a Super Friends thing.
Well, look, I can't have the network and not have the only sage burner out there not on the network. It's bad for branding that Cam has it.
We can't be the only sage burners.
Surprisingly,
we can't be.
If there's more, they're not vocal. Put it that way. It's basically you guys and me and Ben.
Yeah.
Well, I also burn frankincense too.
Oh, that stuff smells amazing.
Which is another good one.
Really?
My husband hates it. He hates all that stuff. He should be such a hippie, but he's not. It's so disappointing.
He's not even buying into his own Eastern culture at this point. That's weird.
Hey, you know what? I should point that out. I have this really good frankincense burner too that's from Tibet, and I should just shame him. He's so used to it though. So
we know it works.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, no, I would listen to you guys for a while, and I was just like, the minute Jessie started talking, I'm like, what? What's it? Or sorry, Maddie. Yeah, I
think that was Maddie though. Maddie's the one that turned me on to burning sage.
Sorry, I had to ask Cam, like, because I get your guys' names mixed up still for some reason. I think it's because I don't put the names to faces with you guys.
Yeah.
Yes, because there are no faces. So they're just disembodied voices.
We don't have faces.
Now, are you like into the whole sage purifying the air and essential oils and all of that stuff? Or yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I've kind of always been open to that in the first place, but Maddie was a lot more knowledgeable about it. So she's taught me a couple things, but I've also just done my own research. And one of the things like that me and her have talked about is I feel like, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I feel like sometimes like there's you can feel like evil presences or evil, or maybe I don't know if you can even use the word evil, but just dark presences sometimes, and sage and frankincense just seems to clean that
Interesting.
presence out. I've done like the frankincense in my room with both of my kids, and it just seems like once we're done with all of that, we're all in such a much better place, and I feel a lot more like the kids are even much more calm and peaceful.
Yeah.
So
I mean, from a psychological standpoint, it's going to, if you believe that works, then it's going to work. So
yeah, and I'm kind of I straddle the fence on that, because I'm just like, well, I don't know how scientific it is, but it does seem to do something for us, and it does seem to, and I think the kids like the smell of it, and they just like the look of it, and so it is something. It's like looking at a campfire. It's a peaceful thing. So
I like being relaxed. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard when the kids finally sit down and just are quiet for a while. That is a rare thing in my house. So
yeah, 4 and 7, I could believe that.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are? Because we completely missed it at the beginning of the show. We just got right into things.
oh yeah.
Why should anyone give a shit what this person, this I'm assuming white lady from the middle of America? Why should anyone give a shit what you have to say?
Yeah, you don't really have to, I guess. But I guess me and Maddie got together because I feel like we're a rarity, especially where like in our professions and where we live. I'm a nurse, so everybody in my profession is pretty much a lefty. But I also live in the deep South, where I should be a conservative. So I don't fit in anywhere.
I still consider myself a lefty, for the record.
It's hard to, yeah. Well, technically speaking, I think the anarcho-capitalists used to be from the left, right? I mean, they were considered from the left for the longest time.
I mean, libertarianism is definitely a leftist ideology, historically speaking. I just think that, if you don't know economics, that's, you don't know economics. It's not really a left or right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why me and Maddie started the show, is because there wasn't a whole lot of females that thought like us. And it was frustrating, and we needed an outlet. And we had an outlet with our show. And we're kind of amazed at how many people have reached out to us. And we're like, it's just so good to hear your perspective on things. I've had guys ask me, they're like, where were you when I was with my girlfriend? Like just asking for advice on like how do they deal with their girlfriends who are on the left. So, and
you're like, I was married to a liberal man. I got this progressive guy over here.
Yeah. So I mean, it's possible. It's not easy. I'll tell you, it's not easy. I think it's a lot more easy for women on the left, or a whole different thing than men on the left. So, and my husband is a strange combination, so it works for us. But like, if he was like a male feminist, then I would be in jail probably, because I would have murdered him, or he would have murdered me. Who knows? My experience with male feminists is not good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if he was a male feminist, chances are he would have probably assaulted somebody and be in jail by now. So
I know, isn't that sad that that's like what's kind of what we all know, but we don't really all say it sometimes. But
oh no, I feel like it's pretty widely said these days. I mean, if nothing else, you get to hate men, and that's pretty good currency in our climate.
It just seems like putting yourself in the most uncomfortable position, because you're literally like, you have to hate pretty much everything about you except for the fact that you're on the team of people who hate you.
Yeah, I refuse to advocate against myself. Just bottom line.
Exactly.
So there's got to be some cognitive dissonance there.
There is. And to be honest, like, and I'm not going to be like an expert on male feminists by any means, but everyone that I've ever met, they've cheated on their girlfriends or wives. They've been verbally or physically abusive. It just seems like they kind of say it to get you hooked in, and then all those principles go out the window as soon as they have you in a relationship with them. So that's my experience.
I always thought it might be completely genuine, just all of that like pent up rage that they're stuffing from being that person just explodes at some point and they snap.
I could see that too. I mean, I have a friend that we don't talk right now because she and I don't see eye to eye on politics, and on her end, she decided that she needed to just have some space.
Good for you.
But her husband is a male feminist.
Good for you. You don't need that stress in your life.
Yeah. Her husband is a male feminist, and I don't want to say anything like mean, but just kind of talks down to him and stuff like that. And so I can see why maybe sometimes men just kind of like explode, because these feminists can be pretty harsh too. So it's not, I don't know. It's just a toxic type of mentality that I just don't want to be
Man.
part of.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't like it. Feminism in general, it's just not what it used to be. I used to consider myself a feminist, by the way. And I don't anymore because I just saw how toxic it was becoming.
Like back when it was about advocating for women doing what they want to do as an individual.
She goes deep back to the third
Exactly.
wave. Liz. Now that we're in the fourth wave,
Yeah.
you know, all bets are off.
When everyone has
Yeah.
to tell you what's good for you because they know better.
Yeah.
And that's somehow
Yes.
better than the quote unquote chauvinism they're talking about, where everyone told you what was good for you because they knew better.
Do you like your libertarian podcast host leather-clad on a motorcycle running from Nazis in black and white? I'm sure my friend Eric in no way resembles that at all, but his Rebel with a Cause podcast is guaranteed to bring you that same rebellious spirit, bringing in guests from all over the political wheel, bringing with it his own personal blend of irreverence and, dare I say it, down-home charm. So head on over to the Rebel with a Cause podcast and begin your own rebellion against bad podcasts. Oh my God, Camille was talking yesterday about like just the bait and switch, which it's funny because I always go about the bait and switch. You know, you're raised in a culture that raised us to be, you know, not see color and to look at people as individuals and judge them on the content of their character.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we're in a world that forces you to racialize and group according to race on perceived what do you call it, perceived racial traits and things of that nature. Like racial essentialization is what it is. You know, it's like so, you know, we're not allowed to be colorblind anymore. We have to be outwardly racist on purpose, and that's our way of fixing racism.
Honestly, that's exactly what my friend has turned into. Like, she and I grew up from high school. She's one of my smartest friends, but like when Donald Trump got elected, it's just like a fuse got flipped in her brain, and she just could not, like, nothing, everything relates back to Trump somehow. If it's bad, Trump did it. And if it's good, Trump must have, he must have not seen it, or he wasn't paying attention, or it was always relating back to him. And I got to the point where I was just so sick and tired of talking about Trump I honestly don't think that whoever the president is, it matters. Like, so
my old D&D troop kicked me out, so
Yeah.
So I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like, I grew up in the South where a bunch of conservatives live, and I don't really relate to them on a lot of issues, but I have found that I can at least sit down and talk to a lot of my conservative friends and family, and it not turn into like, you've changed, you're an evil person now, you judge everybody, and it doesn't turn into that.
They generally don't advocate violence against people. I say generally, they have their little caveats, obviously, but
Yeah, I know, it's weird. Yeah, they're cool with war, but
Yeah. It's a pretty big caveat, actually.
pretty big.
it just seemed like every conversation with like a leftist became punching Nazis, and I'm like, well, did they do anything to you? No, but they want to kill Jews. I'm like, well, probably they don't. They probably just don't want to live with them. So probably just maybe shoo them out of the country would probably be a better option than attacking them. Like, got things we can do. Violence seems like the worst option. Kind of seems to prove their point if that's where you want to go with things.
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is that when Obama was president, a lot of my liberal friends loved me because I would be like,
Yeah.
these conservatives, they don't get it. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I would be in agreement with them on a lot of things when it came to how the conservatives were running things. They just ignored, I guess they just ignored the things I said about Obama. They didn't, or they just erased that. But as soon as Trump became president and they would start attacking Trump about some things, and some of the things they would be attacking Trump about would be things that Obama did,
Yeah.
or it would just be not even true. And is kind of forcing me to kind of call them out on it, because I am that type of person where I just can't stand when people are illogical or
That is illogical.
unreasonable. So I have this thing where I have to talk, and I, instead of just like being quiet, I have to talk and say it out loud what I'm thinking. So it gets me in trouble with a lot of those people.
Yeah.
So, you know what I was not in any way surprised by? Jessie saying that she was a feminist at some point.
No.
Because Liz is not privy to this information because she doesn't see the emails, but
Uh-huh.
I got an email from Calendly where I ask about songs and music and political music and stuff like that. And she responds about Tori Amos, a bunch about Tori
Oh.
Amos. And I'm like, well,
Aw.
Oh yes.
clearly a feminist. Because there's no way anyone
she
else
is.
is stomaching that enough of that shit.
I loved Tori Amos back in the day.
I love
I loved her back in high school. Oh my god.
I would love to love her. That would be fantastic. But
Oh yes. She's strangely beautiful. But yes.
I don't know that she's strangely beautiful. She's fucking smoke show. she's very classically attractive.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's just like, yeah.
Plus ginger.
Yes. And yeah. Well, yeah. I think that might be a little fake, but
Possibly.
we'll
You know.
forgive her for that.
She does.
She pulls it off beautifully. But yeah, in high school I was obsessed with her. It was like her and Nine Inch Nails, and I did go through like a Nirvana thing for like a little while.
At your age, you couldn't not.
Because I mean, guys, I mean, come on. I was like, it was like the early '90s. Pretty much all of the grunge stuff I was really into back then. So basically, I was really into just like depressing stuff, to be honest.
Yeah.
She's like, I listened to a lot of people that did a lot of heroin.
Yes,
Yep.
I sure did. And I am surprised I didn't fall down that path, because I hung out with a lot of musicians and a lot of people who did drugs, but somehow I didn't get into that.
I never, even as a musician, I never really liked drugs until I discovered psychedelics. Like I didn't understand the point. But I think when I was a musician, all musicians were doing was pills. And who the fuck wants to go and be numb?
Yeah, that sounds boring.
Yeah, I want to go on an adventure and fight fucking dragons and shit. And then you're giving me like quiet time. Hey, let's all go take a nap. Fuck that.
Well, the musicians that I knew, they eventually got into cocaine, so that makes sense to me. Like I know now, like if I had ever picked up that drug, I would probably be in a rehab center somewhere or dead, because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounded like a heart attack waiting to fucking happen with me. I'm high strung enough as it is.
Yes.
And just give me the pretty colors and the dragons. That's what I want.
I tried shrooms one time when I was in high school, and that was a horrifying situation for me.
Oh no.
I kept seeing like people looking at us through the windows in the house we were in, and it was just like I couldn't go to sleep. It was terrible.
It reminded me of this Tom Segura bit where he's talking about he's in a guy's driver is driving him to the airport, and the guy's talking about smoking rocks, and he's asking him what it's like. He's like, "Oh man, it's the best." And his description of he's like, what I like to do is I like to hole up in my apartment, and like I like to do them, and then I like to peep out at the hole and freak the fuck out at the people walking by. And it's like, that's a panic attack. That's not fun. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I have too much anxiety. Like I realized really quickly in high school that I couldn't really smoke weed because I had too much anxiety. And this is before they made all these different strains where they actually make some that actually calm you down. I had a panic attack on actually Well, I think this is my cousin and I smoked this joint one time, and I remember when she was rolling it, she's like, "What is white stuff in here?"
Oh,
And the guy
goodness.
was like, "Shh." So I think there was like angel dust or something in it.
That does happen.
I don't know. I just remember having the worst panic attack I've ever had in my whole life
Oh,
from that.
man.
Oh, Lord.
It was awful.
Yeah, I've always said that about weed. Like, I am already paranoid. I don't need to be more paranoid. I can't.
Exactly.
Well, how do you know you don't need to be more paranoid until you at least give it a go? Come on. Come on.
Well, and so now in places where they have like legal weed, they actually can make some that calms you down and just chills you out.
Yeah.
And I've actually tried some of that before, and it does seem to work. So there you go. Like, not that I really smoke weed anymore, but I have found some stuff that if I ever need it can help me with that, I guess.
Well, it's nice that you can finally get that stuff.
I wasn't planning this becoming a drug conversation,
I mean-
either, by the way. But as
Hey, I'm a nurse. We talk
as the
about
name
drugs all the time.
denotes, we are freaks here. So
Yeah.
the conversation will go wherever the weird place the conversation goes. We were talking about parenting.
We were.
And what's amusing to me is like I think that's something that people really they forget about these days, is that you really can't give up who the person you are is, and you can't pretend that you're not worldly in ways that you may be worldly in.
Mhm.
You're doing your children for sure a disservice by not being honest about reality with them, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
So my whole goal with the new trajectory of the show is very specifically just to kind of dig into the reality and the nuts and bolts of fucking being actual modern people and having kids and dealing with life in that capacity. Because I feel like there's so much bullshit that a lot of people spew, especially in like the parenting realm.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I think that having grown up in a very Christian conservative home, there was a lot of conversations that didn't happen that should have happened when I was young. I wish my mom and dad had taught me a little bit more about relationships and sex and stuff like that, but I know why they didn't. It was too uncomfortable for them. So that's something definitely, like, when my kids are a little older.
They probably didn't have those conversations with each other either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I definitely want to have a conversation with my kids about it, because I feel like I don't know what it's gonna be like when they're older, and
Yeah.
how they're.
well, they're not going to have sex. That's already off the table. You'd need to actually see somebody for that to be possible.
Are we doing like straight
I'm gonna
Judge
be honest,
Dredd or whatever it is?
That's the thing that pisses me off most about this. Is not even for me, but I want to think about how many fucking people didn't meet their wives this year because of all this. How many people put their entire fucking
yeah.
lives on hold? How many young people are just never going to have a meaningful relationship because they would have met that person this year, and they just don't. Like
Absolutely.
I hope upon hope that this generation loathes the fucking generations before it because of what it's done to them.
I do too.
Like the animosity I feel towards boomers,
Yeah.
I hope is 1,000-fold coming from the fucking Gen Z.
Yeah, speaking of that, like, that's one of the things, like, my parents are boomers, but
Mhm.
they're actually pretty decent. We've had lots of conversations about this, because I've straight up told them, I was like, you know why young people hate boomers? And they're like, no. It's like, because you guys talk about how you have to have your social security checks. You always talk about how you complain about how the money's being spent by the government, because it comes down to, like, you wanting to get your social security check. And that
Mhm.
pisses us off because we're not going to get that money.
Right.
And my mom and dad were like, oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense.
And you frankly did nothing for that money, so.
I had some bitch call me an entitled millennial, and I'm like, you know what? You can use that word entitled when I get my $32 trillion back that you fucking stole from my generation. $32 trillion, that's the national deficit you stole from us. So you can call me entitled when you pay it back.
Oh, and the thing that's killing me right now about these these boomers right now, and my mom and dad are also, they're like the rarity, because they kind of see what I'm saying. Like, these boomers that are so pissed off at Walmart for people not wearing their masks because they want to
Mhm.
be protected by everyone else, because they're at risk for this COVID business.
Stay the fuck at home.
Yes, they're willing to sacrifice their grandchildren's or their great-grandchildren's futures because they are afraid that if they leave their house, somebody's not going to wear a mask. If you're that scared, why are you at Walmart? First off, Walmart is a cesspool. Second off, you're not really scared. So shut up.
I'm of a mind that we should all go to Walmart so that we can like spread it around faster personally.
I agree.
get it
I
done.
agree with you.
Whether or not herd immunity exists, I think the boomers had their run. I think, you know,
It's a rough approach.
They sure did. They did. They're in their 80s now, 70s and 80s now. You guys got to know what it was like to run around outside without your parents watching you constantly, and you didn't have to worry about being kidnapped and all those things that our kids are going to have to worry about. Now, like my daughter just wants to be able to go play in her backyard, you know, and it's just we can't do that where we live. You know, it's just not safe. So that just pisses me off because it's like the one things that my daughter used to go enjoy, which is honestly going to school and playing with her friends.
And that's such a fucking simple pleasure. Like a simple pleasure that
You can't do
you
it.
can get that.
Yeah.
Every minute of your life is going to be accounted for, and it's all going to go in this little algorithm, and we're going to tell you exactly how it should be lived.
Yeah, and then my aunt's all complaining about how like they had to cancel their cruise because of all this. I'm like, shut up, you know? That just kills me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm still like a Gen Z or whatever, Gen X.
You're a millennial. I hate to break it to you.
Really, because I'm like
No. You're Gen Y. You be Gen Y.
in the middle, like I'm in that little.
Very, very. You're actually dead center Gen Y because it's not a very big one. I'm right on the cusp of millennial and from '84. So
Yeah. See, I used to be like, oh, those millennials are so annoying, but then I started realizing.
Oh no, they are. Fuck millennials.
The reason why we have millennials, the annoying aspects of the millennials is because of decisions that the boomers made. Like all this complaining about, you know, universities having to pay your student loans. That's because the boomer generation made all these like idiotic decisions for us. And now we have to pay the price for it.
What sucks is that we don't have more multi-generational like interaction in our culture, because there's definitely theories about the sort of essentially the personality of generations kind of going in cycles. So there's a generation that's like 2 generations back that would have been more like the millennials. Basically like people who are in their 90s right now. They went through the turn of the century and like all of the shit that happened with the Great Depression, and they could totally speak to what, you know, this younger generation is dealing with and like kind of help them pull their heads out of their asses. But they don't get to talk now, and they're never going to get to talk because we've got COVID. But I mean, it wasn't really even a cultural thing before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, I think about, like, I have my grandmother still alive. She's going to be turning 95 in a couple weeks. And, you know, I just think about the things that she's seen throughout her whole life. I bet you when she hears like young people complaining about, you know, certain things, she's probably just like laughing at them inside because, you know, she lived through the Depression and she lived through World War II, and she was a nurse in World War II. Right toward at the end. My grandfather, who's dead now, he was a chemist and worked on the Manhattan Project, and he ended up dying from a degenerative disease that was caused by the chemicals he was exposed to.
Yeah.
It's just like those people actually, I don't know, I just feel like if my grandfather was still alive, he would probably have a lot of wisdom to pass on to my kids so that they don't grow up to be whiny and complainy and just learn how to fix the problems that they see in front of them.
Well, let's not ignore all the dumb shit that they let Woodrow Wilson do.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm not willing to let any generation. I'm not willing to let any generation off the hook.
All the generations suck.
Well, absolutely.
None of them.
Well, which is why, I mean, just learning from history, I think, is probably the best we're going to be able to do. Which they're trying to stop that now. They're trying to erase history now.
That is absolutely true. Yeah. Okay. So my daughter is 7 now, but when she was in kindergarten, they're trying to teach her about Martin Luther King and trying to teach her about like the Native Americans when we first got to the country, and it's just like the stuff that they're showing her is just so whitewashed and so. I'm at a point where I'm just like, why are you even bothering to teach a 6-year-old this stuff right now? It's just it clearly is like setting her up for indoctrination.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I have to like go and I actually have to go behind some of the stuff that they've taught before and just tell her what really happened, because it's just,
This is what they're saying, but this is the reality.
and it's confusing to her, but it's like, I don't know, you'll get it. I'm like, I have to tell him like, one day you'll see what I'm saying. Just trust me on this.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I was on the library website, because we're trying to pick school books for homeschooling, and like literally could not find a book about the Pilgrims that wasn't from the standpoint of like,
everybody was so nice to each other and peaceful, and it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really weird.
I'll make Irma watch The Witch with me.
How about no?
You know what's a really good movie that I think The Witch was based off of? Have you ever heard of Eyes of Fire? It's on YouTube. It's like it's like from 1983.
Horror?
And it's very similar. Yeah, it's a horror movie. It's actually very similar. It's good. These early pilgrim type settlers, and they're going into America and finding this uninhabited land, and yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I'll have to look at it.
It's
The Witch was very bleak.
Yes. Well, this movie is also that way, but I just think it was a little bit different. It had a much more positive take on it, but I think that The Witch was based on this movie. I really think so.
Well, and that was the thing I was telling Liz about The Witch, was that it was so fucking bleak. And honestly, most of what happened in the movie, like the supernatural elements of that movie were very, very thin. Like there wasn't much to it. It was more like that conceptually that like the devil will find his way into the cracks. And it was most of the bullshit that happened was like their own bullshit. And like it found a way to kind of just little things added on top of that is what tilted the scales. Because what really happened supernaturally? Like there's like 3 things possible. Like 1, the kid with the apple. 1, the baby disappearing, and then 3, when the witch actually showed up like towards the tail end of the fucking movie. Other than that, like most of the awful shit was just bad decisions and in a bad situation.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, Liz might agree with me. Like that's how Satan works, though. Satan can't create.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's how he works, is by using your own psychological stressors against yourself. And so that was a perfect way of how it would work in that type of scenario. You're already like isolated from your community. You're starving. You have to depend on each other, but not everybody's exactly dependable.
Right.
You lost the baby, so the mom is completely distraught. She's she needs support, but nobody can give her that support because everybody's too busy trying not to die.
Right.
So it's like, and it kind of also gives you an idea too of like what it would be like.
There's a lot of valuable lessons in that movie, was the moral of the story. Like like it really, really hammered down how bleak life was if you were there in that time period. Like that shit wasn't fun for anybody.
Yes.
No.
It really does. I mean, and I think as a parent, it shows you like how important it is for both parents to support each other, because if one is not doing their job, the other one has to do the double of the work to keep the whole family together. And when they're not doing it, that's when you start to see the family fall apart.
I was of a mind that neither of those parents were really doing their jobs.
Well,
because the mom certainly wasn't mothering for any fucking reason. She was just laying in bed crying about the lost baby, and the dad was trying to, but like
that's exactly
he was outside of his skill set and not doing was way out of his comfort zone.
Yes, that's why they shouldn't have separated from their community from the get. When you have a community, you maybe in that type of setting, you need to find a way to work together.
Well, I don't want to point out the obvious here, Jessie, but I don't know any other groups of people that are willingly separating from their local communities for ideological reasons. I've never heard of that happening or nothing.
Well,
So maybe that lesson Maybe that
Exactly.
lesson is we got the internet, so there's that, I suppose.
Yeah, but we find each other. So
Well, yeah, and you need to build a new community is I think what the deal is.
I absolutely agree with that.
yeah, like maybe he should have maybe asked some more people to come along. I don't know.
Just find like
But-
one other dude you could like live with.
All I want to know is who's coming with me.
But then we
Right.
wouldn't have the movie The Witch. so-
Who's coming with
Yeah.
me? Jen, do you want to be my girlfriend? Nah, I'm a big dyke. Oh, what's that like? Sorry, it was in a half baked moment. I was channeling some Jim Brewer.
Oh, okay.
So
I hear Jen and I think IT crowd, so you lost.
there is that Jen. Now this is Jen who works at the hippie store with Jim Brewer when he quits. It's like, I'm not gonna do what everyone thinks I'm gonna do and freak out. All I want to know is who's coming with me. And nobody's clearly coming with him. They all look at him like he's out of his fucking mind. And then Jen, the lesbian, comes with him. Yeah, poor Jim.
Aw.
So, all right, Jessie. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad we finally actually got to talk.
Yay.
We'll have no more of the
Yay.
weird. I'm talking to people about you guys. Really, I just kept it up because it became like a thing in and of its own right at a certain point. Like,
And you'll do anything
you'll
for a
just-
bit.
I will do anything for a bit. I love bits. So I love what you guys are doing over there at Volunteering Vixens. Please keep that up. And
Very cool.
We'll try.
I know the struggle's
We'll
real.
try our best.
yes, the struggle is real.
Yeah.
Parenting and podcasting. What the hell makes anyone think that you can do both? But I think we all need it because I think this is how we all build community. If it wasn't for like all the friends that I've made through podcasting, things would be a little bit more difficult to deal with right now, and they're already not exactly easy. So well, thanks so much for coming
Yes.
on. Have yourself a good day.
Thanks for having me.
Come on, take my hand, won't believe me. If a man I cannot stay, take the scraps and stitch what's remaining, and I feel it falling down.
All right, ma'am. What do you think? How did that go?
I thought it was fun. I always enjoy just talking to other cool people.
Did you talk?
Yeah, there was some talking, especially other other Christian people who are married to atheists for some reason. I don't know why that happens, but there you go.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's always entertaining for me.
So you despise me for the reggae, and you despise me for the atheism. You're like, see how this is.
No, that wasn't where I was going at all.
Despise me for the late afternoon delight. Just what is this? Why are you marrying me?
It was more along the lines of just we have such interesting conversations because we're coming from different places, and I think building a community of people who are different is a good thing.
Now you're trying to tell me, trying to invite the commies in?
Wow, you were just taking all of the things to all the weird places. So I guess we should just wrap this up.
Want to fuck her someplace really uncomfortable? What, you mean like the back of a Volkswagen? So what's that? That's Mallrats, right?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
That's Jason Lee's character, right?
Probably.
Or no, it's not. I know who it is, but
I have such a hard time going back to Kevin Smith land now after seeing the sequel to friggin' Jay and Silent Bob or whatever it was. No, not even the sequel. The third one.
yeah, the sequel was okay. Whatever. Jay and Silent Bob was okay.
So gross.
I don't know. It was what it was. It wasn't even a movie. It was just, I don't know. It was like a high five to people that like Kevin Smith for liking Kevin Smith.
I guess.
That's what it felt like.
Except for I feel like half the movie was telling you not to like Kevin Smith.
It was definitely a whole lot of the woke BS.
Because he's all Hollywood and woke and a douchebag now.
Well, I mean, he owes his career to Weinstein, so
Oh, so maybe that's why he was crapping on it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Weinstein,
Yeah, no.
pedophiles,
I
Kevin
get
Smith's pretty close to all that.
Yeah, so
Is
maybe
Kevin
he was
Smith a pedophile? We don't know about it.
maybe he was just kind of saying, "No, I don't appreciate that because it's connected to all this awful stuff, and I'm not into that awful stuff." So
I doth think you protest too much.
I have no idea.
Did he know the Coreys?
I don't know. I feel like they're kind of around the same ages, aren't they? I mean, the living Corey.
Yeah, poor Corey.
Yeah,
They did the Lost Boys though, and I'm glad that happened.
that was amazing.
The first one, anyways.
Oh, good gravy. They made a second one of those?
No, they made like 3 Lost Boys movies.
I don't know.
The first one is the only one worth watching, I promise you.
Okay, that's fair. I'm like, I don't even know how I would prepare myself for a sequel to that.
It was made so far after them, it's not even funny.
Okay.
Like, I think Corey Feldman is the only one that's still alive, and like he plays like a grizzled old man trying to teach these young pups or something.
Yeah, that just sounds awkward.
From what I remember, it was not good. I think it's called Lost Boys: The Tribe.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a third one. I can't remember what the fuck that one's called, but
Well, there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Anyways, how's the garden doing out there?
It is coming along. We've got like these gorgeous yellow tomatoes that are delicious, and I'm trying to collect seeds from them. And we've got all of the cucumbers, and I need to make so many jars of pickles now.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
We're hoping to find that big thing that's full of potatoes.
Yes. It's like the mystery box now because it's just been sitting there and there's leaves coming out and it's doing stuff. And we're just like, what is under
So
the
many
dirt?
leaves. So many leaves.
So hopefully we'll let you guys know if our potato experiment was successful or not.
You know what? It apparently is successful in Ohio, though, for
What's
sure.
that?
Like, oh my God, kale.
Oh, yeah. We have so much kale, all the kale. And I guess that's good because it's not that cheap in the stores. And I can apparently grow as much of it as I want in my backyard. So there you go.
Like, you've been harvesting already, and it just will not stop growing.
No, it just keeps coming back. Like you thought you cut those leaves back and boom, there's just more.
I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah. So there you go.
It's shit I'm not paying for, which makes it even better. That's really impressive on me.
Right. Because you're not even a kale fan. So
No.
I was making kale smoothies at $3 a bag, and you're like, and I'm paying for this crap.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's about right on the nose, honey. So, all right, folks. Well, we'll call it a day. If you like the show and you wanna learn more, catch up on the show notes, head on over to peacefreaks.com. Spell it whichever way you like. I'm pretty sure we own all the URLs for that. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there. I revamped the website recently. It's more streamlined. Takes you to all the other stuff like the other podcasts. For those who don't know, I do an environmentalism podcast with my good friend Ben Pangy of Homesteads and Homeschools. And I'm pretty pumped that we're going to be starting a series where we're going to be going through all of the old Captain Planet shows.
I'm pretty stoked about that myself.
And we'll be doing like mini episodes on those. It's going to be something. I don't know about you, Liz. Have you ever gone back and looked at the cast list for that show?
No, I haven't. I would have no idea.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Like they pulled out every stop on that propaganda piece.
Nice. And it is. It's so blatant. And I as a kid, I mean, I guess I got that they were like.
I recently just rewatched the first episode, Liz, and
About the,
however propaganda you feel it is, it's way worse.
Okay.
It was also a better cartoon than I was thinking. I
well,
remember
that's good.
Like it was actually pretty well made.
Nice.
But I guess when you're trying to make crazy propaganda, they were so about the propaganda in the '90s, weren't they?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
remember? You remember that fucking that cartoon All Stars show?
Oh,
it was the giant anti-drug ad.
Yeah, it was so heavy-handed.
So heavy-handed.
They put like the minimal amount of effort into like trying to disguise their anti-drug message with something that resembled a story.
Yeah. Let's just take every cartoon character ever and put them in one movie.
Pay no attention.
So,
Okay.
anyways, We could go on. This could go on forever. We'll just have to call it. We're
Yes.
calling it.
Okay.
Take it easy, folks.
Make it magical.
Peace. This podcast is a proud creation of the Mad Audio Lab. For more information, check out madaudiolab.com. Peace Freqs is part of the Liberty Hippie Podcast Network. If you like what we do, be sure to check out Homesteads and Homeschools, Free Markets Green Earth, Cannabis Heals Me, and This Week in Liberpods. We're living proof that libertarian doesn't mean washed up Republican.